they're kind of almost opposites, I guess. Well, is it like playing a scale over?
I've heard, Rick Diallo, when he breaks down some songs, and he says, and this is what's called a line shift. And he was showing on the guitar. And now I realize, reading it, what he was actually doing. He was playing the same chord, but then up above, he was moving the melody notes around like on a. Yes, he was just trying to chord, but then he was just moving harmonically on the scale. And he was showing me some song.
Oh, I see.
He says this is called a line pitching.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I had just like a little bit
I think it's just allocation.
Yes, you always are. That's exactly right.
It's kind of, it's sort of funny.
Well, in the summer, it's just a different.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Well, you ought to listen to your daughter.
I'm sure he put you
Sounds good, yeah. Yeah, she teaches a little bit. Not as much now, but she's maybe open. So
He doesn't have any time.
we'll figure out whatever works for you.
Well, that's a little too much. You're always like, oh my gosh. But of course you're like crazy. Well, one thing I heard that, here there's a Thursday water type class, and I like that. It's good for my hips. I've been choosing that, but I'm but anyway, I said to Rita, and then she said, hey, congrats, you're back. So, did she? No, she's not 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's, from just her typing, she's done it. But anyway, and I told her, I said, if it ends up being fail.
Oh, it's getting worse now. Donuts, are they doing donuts in the parking lot again?
Good summer cup for sure. I've practiced. That's what when we do the worship associate training, we practice ringing the bell. Good morning. Thank you. My name is Abby Vaughn, and I am the worship associate today. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. Whether you have been with this church a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, whatever your journey has been, we welcome you. Newcomers and guests are always welcome to participate in any of our church activities. If you'd like more information about our church or Unitarian Universalism, please talk to our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Dana Poss, or one of our board members. You can find contact information for Dana and the board on our website. Please join us for coffee hour following the service. The Zoom link will be posted in the YouTube chat at the end of the service, or you can find it in the upper right-hand corner of our webpage. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. It is good to be together, both in person and virtually. Our opening words today are from Annie Dillard, number 420 in the gray hymnal. Maybe on the screen. We are here to abet creation and to witness it, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house.
Our chalice lighting words are from Michael Sitter. In this house of gathering, we say yes to the call to be fully and gloriously human as we honor the divine spark within each of us. In this house, we say yes to the call we have heard that binds us together into community of care, concern, and celebration. We say yes to the call that knits us together as a whole people. We say yes to the call that reminds us of our ties to the interconnected web of all existence. We do not enter our houses of gathering empty-handed. We bring our longings and our memories, and we call on the spirit of love, freedom, and compassion to abide with us.
Our opening hymn is number 123, Spirit of Life in the Gray Hymnal. The words will also be on the screen.
Our time for all ages today is extra yarn. And here we are with extra yarn, and there's our little host, Annabelle. This looks like an ordinary box full of ordinary yarn, but it turns out it isn't. Here she is again. On a cold afternoon in a cold little town, where everywhere you looked was either the white of snow or the black of soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. So she went home and knit herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars, too. And there's Mars and Annabelle with their sweaters, but there was extra yarn. And when Annabelle and Mars went out for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. But it turned out he was. Even after she'd made a sweater for Nate and his dog and herself and Mars, she still had extra yarn. At school, Annabelle's classmates could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet!" shouted Mr. Norman. "Quiet, everyone! Annabelle, that sweater of yours is a terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Then I'll knit one for everyone," said Annabelle, "so they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." But it turned out she could, and she did, even for Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she knit sweaters for her mom and dad, and for Mr. Pendleton, and Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Lewis. This is the challenge here. She made sweaters for everyone except Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "No sweater for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat, and even then Annabelle still had extra yarn. She made sweaters for all the dogs and all the cats and for other animals too. Soon, people thought, soon Annabelle will run out of yarn. But she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even wear sweaters. Things began to change in that little town. Isn't that interesting? News spread of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn, and people came to visit from around the world and to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. One day, an archduke who was very fond of clothes sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. "Little girl," said the archduke, "I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn, and I'm willing to offer you $1 million. "No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The archduke's mustache twitched. $2 million, he said. Annabelle shook her head. "No, thanks." $10 million, shouted the archduke. "Take it or leave it." "Leave it," said Annabelle. "I won't sell the yarn." And she didn't. Oh, so that night the archduke hired 3 robbers to break into Annabelle's house, and they stole the box and took it to the archduke, who set off across the snow and sailed over the sea, back to his castle. The archduke pulled up his favorite song and sat in his best chair. Then he took out the box and he lifted its lid and he looked inside. Oh, his mustache quivered. It shivered. It trembled. The archduke hurled the empty box out of the window and shouted, "Little girl, I curse you with my family's curse. You will never be happy again." But there's the box floating on the sea. Here's Annabelle with a stick, and Mars, her dog, And they're pulling it out. And guess what? It turned out she was happy. So Annabelle was here, and Annabelle left us some things. She came, and as you see, she decorated our sanctuary, and she left some yarn to choose from. And we have only a couple rules. If there are children with us, children get to go first in selecting. Nothing has to go home with Annabelle. And so please take what you would like. If someone, make sure that everyone has something they would like before you take the second. And you're welcome to it after the service. Thank you. Okay.
What a great story. Good morning. I'm Lynn Richards from the Lay Pastoral Care Team. During our service, we create this sacred space for sharing within our community. It is a time to share significant life passages with the congregation so that you can be held in loving care. I'll be reading the joys and sorrows this morning, and Chris Hill will be placing a stone representing each joy or sorrow in the sand. The sand represents our congregation, supporting our sorrows and lifting up our joys. Today we have one sorrow and a joy. First, from Tim Lesher. Jean Lesher, my grandmother, died Saturday afternoon in hospice care at Riverview Nursing Home. To Tim and to his family we say, we're holding you in our hearts. And from Beth Zach and church friends, it was a joy to be together with everyone at the church picnic last week. Many thanks to the Connection team for making that happen. To Beth and all the picnickers, we say, we share in your joy. We now place one more stone in the sand for all the joys and sorrows that exist in our hearts but remain unspoken today. We especially think of our church community as we move through this time toward an uncertain, at the moment, future. Please know that the Lay Pastoral Care Team is here for you, to listen and to support you. You can always reach us collectively via the Breeze form, our lpct@uucnh.org email, or individually as you choose. Now please say with me our caring words, knowing that here includes all those watching. Let us hold in our circle of caring each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those who are unable to be with us today. Let us hold in our memories those who have moved on. Let us find comfort in knowing that we are not alone.
Today's meditation is from the Reverend Mark Bellatini's Sonata for Voice and Silence. It's a beautiful little book from Skinner House, and if you have missed it, please have a look and see it. It's just gorgeous. I've adapted it from the original so that it's not quite as long. Please join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation. This is Mark saying, in summer. It's called Summer Silence. In summer, I do not come to worship so much as worship comes to me. In the morning, the golden light splashes across my rooms, and roses the color of wine greet me in the alley. As they bow to me in the breeze, I bow back. At noon, sunflowers refuse to turn their face from me, until again I give a slight bow. But what else can I do? In evening, the thunderheads mount higher and higher, gathering pink and rose from the setting sun, creating a kind of vast mountain hanging suspended in the air. Again, I pause and bow. What else can I do? At night, when the pastel sky melts into a dark indigo lake overhead, the rusty beacon of Mars beckons above the horizon. so that I cannot fail to notice and bend the knee.
We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds that we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. If you're here with us today in person, you can take your offering to the baskets in the back. If you're joining us virtually, you can make your offer by mailing a check to the church or going to the UUCNH.org website, finding the link in the upper right-hand corner that says donate, and making a contribution equivalent to what you would be putting in the plate. This month's Share the Plate recipient is the Allegheny Land Trust. Oops. Well, let me see, I thought there was more. Okay, the Allegheny Land Trust is a 501c3 nonprofit organization helping local people save local land in the Pigsburg region. ALT works to protect the land of significant value to our region's unique scenic landscape, biodiversity, and water quality. Additionally, ALT protects land to improve the quality of life for current and future generations by offering recreation and educational opportunities. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in saying the dedication of the offering. The words are on the screen. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. And now please join in singing Morning Has Broken, number 38 in the gray hymnals. The words will also be on the screen.
Good morning again. I'm Lou Bartolomucci, and I've been a member for a number of years. We're going to talk this morning about the power of art to heal, to restore, to persuade, to inspire. For many thousands of years, humans have created art. Red, hand-stenciled cave paintings, older than 64,000 years, exist in Spain. A cave painting in South Africa, discovered in 2018, was created 73,000 years ago by a Neanderthal human. Europeans have discovered cave paintings of animals and hunting scenes from more recent prehistoric times. We humans drew pictures, played music, danced, sang, chanted, and acted in dramas we created. We humans have a long history of creating art. Some of our present-day art derives from the ancient world. Ancient Greeks created drama. A few of their plays survive. We stage them today and perform them. We know their stories. The ancient Greeks released prisoners temporarily and required them to attend performances. Every little Greek town had a theater. Athens had several, and one held 15,000 people. Ancient Greek plays often held a religious or a moral theme. Some were offered to the god Dionysus. I believe we have a relationship to art that is deep and inborn, that is part of both our nature and our culture as individual peoples. We often respond to art with deep emotion. I can witness to my own feelings, to my own response to classical music. Each year, it seems, Heinz Hall and the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra welcome an amazing piano player. In fact, they welcome numerous amazing piano players. A new Russian or French or Latvian phenom or a famous seasoned artist to play Rachmaninoff's second or third piano concerto. PSO scheduled Yefim Bronfman this past symphony season. I have been, was, and will be in the audience for these concerts. Any seat will do. Actually, I own on CDs all 4 of Sergi's piano concertos, played by various amazing musicians, including remastered ones played by the composer himself. So, I'm sitting in Heinz Hall. From the side stage door comes Yefim Bronfman. Oh my, the gentleman is looking so much older than the last time I saw him. A touch of worry appears. Will this go well? Should I prepare to be less than transported? Should I prepare to be disappointed? He sat. I closed my eyes and breathed. It may have been 45 minutes, but it seemed only a very few minutes. I floated. He was Bronfman. The orchestra performed. They played Rachmaninoff. Wonderful, passionate music. I loved it. My response to art is also emotional. In my early 20s, I visited the Art Institute in Chicago. Seurat's pointillist painting Sunday Afternoon on La Grande Jatte has a home there. The painting is at a distance, and it's in shades of gray. As one approaches, taking a long, narrow walk forward, the painting suddenly bursts into color. The artist created this effect by painting complementary dots of paint close together so that, away they fade to gray, close they burst into color. It is a thrill to experience. My response to painting is a common experience written about often in fiction. At UUCNH's book exchange several weeks ago, I picked up Emily Alone by Pittsburgh author Stuart Onan. By the way, thank you for whoever donated the book. Real life is full of people. Let me see, I've got a page here I've missed. Okay. All right, Stuart Onan. Emily is at the Carnegie. She and Arlene are awash in third graders. Here I quote from page 194. She wanted to be moved, to be thrilled, and how was that possible in a room full of third graders? After she'd given up hope, they stopped before a simple canvas, a branch of an almond tree in bloom. It was minor. Emily didn't recognize it. The flowers themselves did nothing for her, but the blue Van Gogh had chosen for the air captivated her. Rich and bright, near aqua, with a milky whiteness to it. Emily couldn't look away. For months she'd been dreaming of spring. Here it was in all its gaudy freshness. Emily lingered, concentrating, as if by paying attention she might imprint the vision on her mind. I read fiction. Fiction is full of characters like Emily, transported, touched by art and music. Real life is full of people transported and touched by art. One of my favorite books by a Pittsburgh author, besides Stuart Onan, is Bill Strickland. He wrote, "Make the Impossible Possible." I'm sure many of you have read it. Make the Impossible Possible is not a work of fiction. It's a true story that describes the remarkable journey of a youngster who lived and grew up in a slum, Manchester, North Side, Pittsburgh, and became an artist, a visionary, and a champion of social change. Many of us know that Bill Strickland created and built Manchester Craftsmen's Guild. He also leads Bidwell Training Center, part of the same campus. Together they are a school and training center for public school kids and unemployed poor adults. MCG's concert hall is a small gem, and a favorite venue of many living jazz artists. MCG's record label has received several Grammy Awards. Some of you have season subscriptions. Many of us have been to performances. Bill Strickland is CEO of MCG and Bidwell Training Center. He is the recipient of a MacArthur Foundation Fellowship Award, often called a Genius Award. He is also the recipient of many academic honorary doctorates and the subject of a Harvard Business School case study. His work has been replicated in other U.S. cities and internationally. In short, Bill Strickland is a local legend known worldwide. Here he is narrating from his book, Make the Impossible Possible. One morning, as I was ambling unhappily along hallway toward my homeroom, I caught the smell of fresh coffee. I followed it to the door of the art room and looked inside. Light was streaming through the big double-hung windows. Jazz was playing in the background. At the rear of the room, I saw someone sitting with his back to me, a white guy of average build, short, dark beard, and longish hair. His head was bowed forward, his elbows tight against his sides. He was rocking gently on his stool. What caught my eye was the way he was moving his hands. He held them in front of him at waist level and was moving them slowly and mysteriously up and down, like a hypnotist or a sorcerer conjuring a spell. I got closer and looked over his shoulder. He was leaning over some kind of turntable. On the table was a ball of something wet and gray. His hands were on the glistening ball, coaxing it, shaping it, and as he worked, the ball seemed to come magically alive. It sprang up to form a cylinder. Then the lower half of the cylinder swelled gracefully into the shape of a bell. He worked this way for a while. Then he moved his hands away. I saw a small, perfect vase spinning on the table. I couldn't have been more amazed if the guy had caused the vase to appear by simply snapping his fingers. You want to try it? He didn't have to ask me twice. Don't get your hopes up. Getting a pot to stand up on the wheel is as hard as hitting a big league curveball. He was right. The clay was impossible to manage. But as I logged more time at the wheel, I started to get a feel for the clay. I finished basic pieces, cups, plates, and bowls. These small successes fed the feeling I had the first time I laid my hands on clay, that I was nourishing something basic in my spirit, that I was holding sheer potential in my hands. For the first time in my life, I found myself believing that something extraordinary was within my grasp. Should any of us doubt the power of paintings, music, writing plays, novels, and all of art to lift and inspire people, we need only look to the severe censorship, banning of books, and imprisonment of playwrights and authors that is now and has been a part of world history. When I was age 16, I wrote a term paper for 2 high school classes, English and World History. My topic was communism, a hot topic in the late 1950s. One of my sources was the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. I had footnotes that cited their writing. My English teacher, Gladys Donaldson, gave me an A grade, but asked to see me after school. She expressed her concern because the Communist Manifesto was on the Catholic Index of Forbidden Books. She knew that my family was Catholic. I was unaware of this prohibited situation, but I knew I had better talk with my parents since a parent-teacher conference was coming in a week. So I told my mother, "The Communist Manifesto is on the index of forbidden books, Mom. I used it as one of a number of sources for my term paper, Mom." My mother seemed confused. "The books and movies on the index are pornography," she explained. "And what would Gladys Donaldson know about that? She's a Methodist." It wasn't clear whether Mom meant what would Mrs. Donaldson know about pornography, or what would Mrs. Donaldson know about the Catholic Index of Forbidden Books, but I let the matter drop. "Okay, Mom, right you are." Perhaps the Catholic Church was correct to ban Marx and Engels' writing. I suspect they have persuaded, influenced, and touched many minds since publication of their manifesto in 1848. Shall we go down to the north side again, a little distance from Manchester Craftsmen's Guild campus? Let's walk out the back door of the Mattress Factory Museum to an alleyway. Sampsonia Way is the home of City of Asylum and several very unusual houses. In fact, City of Asylum now has 5 residents in 5 homes. All are resident artists, in danger in their home countries for what they have written and published or tried to publish, and are now safe in asylum in Pittsburgh. Number 408 Sampsonia Way is known as House Poem. For almost 3 years, it was the home of Wang Jan, who was the first exiled writer in the City of Asylum Pittsburgh residency program. Mr. Huang covered his home in calligraphy as a very public expression of his arrival in Pittsburgh and of his new freedom to publish without persecution. House Poem has now been used by other writers in City of Asylum's program. Diane Samuels and Henry Reese, a wife and husband team, created Alphabet City and City of Asylum. Their work includes the residents' homes, a library, restaurant, and a small performance space. Often you can see them and members of our congregation there for a performance. I could talk more about the power of art to lift, inspire, and change lives, but I'll stop now. We have a special guest who works every day toward a mission of creating art and changing lives. Our guest is Kim Freithaler. I think that's right, and if not, she'll correct me. She is an artist, a teacher, and CEO of North Hills Art Center. Kim will talk to us a while about her work at the center, and then she will listen to your comments and answer your questions. Please welcome Kim.
Thank you so much, Lou, and the Unitarian Universalist Church for inviting me here today. I am enjoying myself immensely. This is my first service, so you're really impressing the pants off of me. I'll tell you. I, too, was raised Catholic, so it's a little different. I started out, I'm a transplant to Pittsburgh. I'm here 20 years this month, and I am with the Art Center 19 years. This is actually my second experience with using the arts to change lives and to impact the world around me. I have a BFA in painting from St. John's University in Queens, and shortly after graduating, I fell into a program in the Manhattan public school systems that taught literacy through art. And I took the job going in purely for the paycheck, saying, if they're willing to pay me to teach little kids art so they can read, fine. And I went into the classroom, and lo and behold, it actually worked. And I had an epiphany that art truly, truly is a powerful tool for getting points across, for educating people, for building their self-esteem. So I did that for several years. Fast forward to Pittsburgh, and I started teaching at the North Hills Art Center, just one painting class. And again, it was, I like to paint, and it was purely for self-gratification. I had no intention of staying there for any length of time. We were moving every couple of years as a family, so I really wasn't looking for anything long-term. And boy, did I have a lot to learn. It turned out we had been in the forefront of the healing power of art long before circumstance and the horrible happenings at the Tree of Life Synagogue brought the whole art community together to try to help everyone heal. Museums opened their doors. It became a very, very hot topic that art was an influencer in terms of changing lives and helping people. And we had not sat down and said, oh, that's a great marketing tool. Let's say we're going to heal you. We really just came together. We have been a 501c3 nonprofit. We were formed in 1959, and it was the brainchild of two stay-at-home moms on a golf course in the North Hills who said, hey, we really need some place for artists and creative types here in the Pittsburgh area to gather. And they formed their own group, and they called it the Artists and Craftsmen's Guild. And they met for years in the North Hills in living rooms, churches. At one point, they were at CCAC, and they took off. They started with 20 members, and they decided they needed a place of their own. So they started a campaign to raise money, and as artists, only artists can do, they had to have fun while they were doing it. They had what they called Beaux Arts balls, and they would hold these events at places like Wildwood Country Club, and they would theme them, and they would dress up, and it would be a night at the Nile or a Viking theme, and they would party till 1 in the morning. And this actually worked. They scraped together enough money, and they bought a building on Babcock Boulevard, and it was formerly White Heating, which is still on Babcock Boulevard as our neighbor. And then the fun started. All of these artists came and volunteered their time, and they transformed this building into a community arts center. It opened in May of 1968, and we started offering classes and camps, summer camps for children, and the bulk of the main floor is a gallery and a pottery studio. So they opened their doors and they started offering whatever they could, and we are in existence 63 years already, and it has been quite a challenge given all of the things that they have survived, be it COVID being the most recent one. And during that time, we have attracted so many people in the community that just come through our doors searching, and sometimes they don't even know why. People who have lost loved ones, people who have experienced life-threatening illnesses, people who just retire and they're lonely and they don't really have a plan. They don't know where they want to go or what they want to do. Or they're retired and they say, oh wow, I finally have 2 minutes to myself and I've always wanted to learn how to paint or to do pottery. And we absolutely embrace everybody who walks through the door. We have made it a cause for ourselves that we are not this exclusive highbrow club, if you will, where the Artists and Craftsmen's Guild kind of implied that it was not open to everyone. We changed our name to the North Hills Art Center. We painted a giant rainbow mural of trees on the side of the building. We convinced Ross Township to give us a LED sign that blinks, and you can't go by our building now without blinking back because it's constantly swirling around and you see all these colorful trees. So we're trying to invite everyone we can in to benefit from what we have to offer. We are very, very conscious of cost. So we have financial aid available for anyone who might not be able to take a class or to come spend time with us. We have developed many relationships with other small nonprofits in the community. We use our gallery very much as a meeting place and a place to raise awareness for not only what we do, but many other groups. A big one that we're involved with now for 8 years is Crisis Center North, and they help victims of domestic violence. And what we do is we take groups of their clients in for private classes, lessons. They get to pound clay. It was very much, I think, a Bill Strickland experience for many of them, not coming from an art background, but they would come into the studio and they would get to be with people who are going through similar situations and just pound that clay. And at the end of the day, they had the satisfaction of creating something unique, something they can take home and say, look, I achieved this. This small thing has benefited them. It gave them control. Life could be spiraling out of control for them in every other area, but this was that one point in time where they could take control and achieve something. So we really do try to promote that. We have grown in size. We had one part-time office person, and recently we hired another one, so we're up to 3 people in the office. 3 people and, depending on the day, multiple dogs. I have 2 rescues. One is an elderly Australian Shepherd who's down to one eyeball. But she's probably the favorite. When I go to work, we have a permanent baby gate on the office door, and if I do not have a dog with me, very often people taking classes will make a point of stopping in the office, and if there are no dogs laying there to pet, I will hear about it. So it's that kind of a place. We're very conscious of people coming in, and the first thing you walk into is an art gallery. And I think the perception for many people, especially who have not delved into the art world, is, oh, I don't know anything about art. I am not going to go in there because I'm going to make a fool of myself. And boy, are they in for a surprise, because we partner with groups in an effort to spread the word outside of the art community. One of our most successful art show openings was an animal-themed show, and our partner for that was the Pigsburg Squealers. I'm not making this up. They are out in Tarentum, and you can go see them anytime you like. They love company, and they are a pet pig rescue. Because so many people get those little tiny piglets and are lied to and told they're going to stay the size of a dog, and then 200 pounds later, they can no longer control the pigs. So we used them as our partner, and they agreed to bring a couple of pigs to the art show opening in our gallery. Sure. One of them was Elon Tusk. Elon Tusk was found on the side of a road. He had been hit by a car, and they rescued him, and he lost his back legs. So Elon is in a wagon. So Elon came, and then the other pig came, and basically, when you see a 200-pound pig on a leash, that there's some concerns about control. Basically, that's achieved with a box of Cheerios. So we had all these people being exposed to art and to the animals and the rescue, and they all got handfuls of Cheerios, and this pig went wherever there was Cheerios. At the end of the night, it was a fantastic success. They decide they got to put the pig back in the van. I see them waving a ho-ho. Pig goes trotting out the door. They got a ramp to the back of the van. They threw the ho-ho in the van. The pig went flying up. They shut the door. They went. I said, did you just give that pig a ho-ho? And they said, oh, yeah, that's a high-value treat. When you want them to do something in one, that's what you use. Okay? So, I mean, that's kind of, we're very fortunate in that we can do things like that because we're very, very small. We're primarily self-supporting. We do get some RAD money, which is wonderful, and that allows us to do even more. But we, because of that, we don't have all those strings with organizations that have many, many grants or money coming in from other sources. We can basically tailor ourselves to the needs of the community. The hub, the Westview hub down in Perrysville is relatively new, and we recently started working with them. So the basic conversation is, well, what do you need? Do you need an art class? Do you need scholarships for people to come up? We can do all that. We don't have to satisfy anybody else except ourselves, which is wonderful. We have an ongoing program with the community food banks. A lot of children and adults would love to partake of an art class or a workshop. They just can't get to us. So what we do is we make string backpacks and we fill them with art supplies. And we make a couple hundred at a time, and we go to the North Hills Food Bank or the food bank over on Ferguson, and we just use them to distribute them because they have a much better idea of who in the community could benefit from those things. We're way too small to be able to reach out like that. So we do that every couple of years, and that's been very successful. We also, let's see, we work with Northland Library. We try to reach out into the community, and we have a show there once a year upstairs in the second floor to expose even more people to art. They just had their big annual fundraising garden gala this spring, and they approached us about doing an art installation. So what we did was we collected hula hoops, and we built a 12-foot high, it looked like a cyclone with streamers, art installation in their garden, and that helped decorate for their event. And then the thought behind that was, well, we're just not going to waste all this. So when it was disassembled, the hula hoops were repurposed, and they were given to children for programming at the library. So we're very conscious of things like that. Our current gallery show is called All Bottled Up. It's the first time we're doing it, and we partnered with the McCandless Environmental Advisory Committee, and we asked artists to come in and to give a second life to a plastic or glass bottle. And right now, the show is on through the 19th of this month, and I highly encourage you to stop by and see it. All of these amazing creations, from jellyfish to just looks like glass paintings, have been made out of bottles. And it's trying to call attention to the situation all of our townships are facing with the problems with recycling and landfill usage. So we're very, very cognizant that art has the ability to call these issues to light. It doesn't need to be art for art's sake. It can have a higher purpose than that, which is wonderful because it draws other groups in, and it really puts it to work. So we really, we're in the forefront of this, and I really think it is the only way we can go. I've had so many personal experiences. I teach painting at night, and I've had people come in. I had 2 women who were friends primarily because they lost their children. One had a boy, one had a girl. They were dating, and they ran into a problem and actually were shot to death. And in order to heal, they took a painting class. So they basically came, and they stayed for years. We have people that really come in not knowing what they're searching for, and they find that it's just such a welcoming environment, and it does heal you. So how am I doing on time? Are you okay?
Would you take some questions?
Pardon?
Would you take some questions?
Sure. I will be happy to take some questions, and before I take questions, I'm also going to point this out. This is our catalog, and we have classes fall, spring, winter, and summer, and we have a bunch of them out front if anybody's interested in visiting us.
Abby has a microphone.
Okay.
Questions?
Did I cover everything? Yes.
Do you have any programs designed for old people? Senior people?
You have to specify, because the older I get, that bar just keeps getting higher and higher. So I'm not sure what you mean by old, but we have programming for age 6 right up to 90. We have everything from drop-in programs for pottery and painting to one-time program-driven workshops. We just started a glass program with stained glass. But I would say at least half of our student body are seniors, certainly during the daytime. It's a very vibrant community. Come on down. You know, I had a couple come to my class once. It was a night class, and the husband walked in trailing the wife with all their painting supplies, and he said to me, "She's the artist. I'm just here because she wanted me to take the class with her." And he pulls out his canvas, and it's literally this big. He says to me, "I don't want to waste paint." I'll have you know, he was with us for years. They would fight for wall space in their home to hang up their paintings. But he didn't know until he came. So you should come. Anybody else have a question for me? You have one?
This is just a comment. Thank you for your leadership of this organization. It's so impressive. I didn't know all the history and the background, and you're doing great work there, so thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I don't really have a question, but I just want to say it's worth seeing the new exhibit. I saw it the day you were putting it up and having it ready to go, and it's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure they'll take you.
Afterwards.
Okey-doke.
Our closing hymn is "The Sun That Shines," number 19 in the gray hymnal.
Okay. Please join me in affirming our mission statement. Do we have the words? We do not. Join me if they're available to you on the order of service or if you remember them. Building a loving religious community that nourishes the spirit, celebrates life, and cherishes the connectedness of all things, we will transform ourselves and our world. And before we close, I got the good news that we will have a coffee hour today. and presumably it will be available outside towards the Bellwood building, as we usually are. Our closing words are from Reverend Martha Munson, who served as interim minister at UUCNH from 2009 to 2011. We extinguish this chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. Go in peace.